Welcome to Chad the Home Care Guy. Real conversations about aging, home care, and the decisions families face every day. Hosted by Chad Fisher, founder of Avail Home Care. Because caring for the people you love shouldn't be confusing. Let's get started.
All right, how you guys doing? I'm Chad the Home Care Guy with Avail Home Care, and I am back with Joe Milone of Milone Vintage Estate Sales.
How are you doing today, Chad? Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on the big show.
The big show is here. Thanks for being here. This is awesome. Well, give them a little background first on who you are, where you came from, and how did you end up here?
Okay. Well, my mom and dad, no. So I moved out to Florida in 2009.
Okay.
I previously had experience in the hospital system. I was a financial counselor for St. Vincent's Hospital. I moved to Florida and I knew medical field was something to go into, and, you know, I always had a passion for seniors. So I wound up working in long-term care for about 10 years, nursing homes. I did inside, outside.
Which is where I first met you.
Yes. So. Yeah, a long time ago. And then I was a regional for a little bit, got kind of tired of that, wanted to continue to do something that would, you know, impact families in their lives. So I actually started to work for hospice, and I worked for a hospice company that shall not be named for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think it was like late 2023, you know, we finally had noticed my grandmother was declining. I noticed some Alzheimer's. And, you know, my mom, after my grandfather died, she kind of left her in the house, and I would go check on her, but I knew it wasn't the right thing. So we transitioned to an ALF finally, and then we saw her house, which was standard for a lot of elderly that have moved several times and brought their entire...
Oh, yeah. Lots of stuff.
You know,
in a small spot.
The
probably.
house, it was a nice size house, but I mean, every nook and cranny. So I said, well, we have to get rid of this stuff, you know, but it was a lot of nice stuff. So I didn't want to just junk it. So I said, well, we need to have an estate sale. And where they lived, there was kind of one or two companies that kind of controlled the neighborhood, and we couldn't get things in for a couple of months. And I didn't really like the replies, I'll be honest, with the other companies that I got. So I turned to my wife, I said, I think we can do this ourselves. So we set about setting up the house, pricing everything. And after it was over, I don't know, it felt really good for cleansing. And I felt like I accomplished something and helped my family out, because my mom lives by Naples. So, you know, 4 hours away. So she couldn't come back and forth.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, if she is impacted by this, there's got to be other people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did love to visit estate sales too. So I had an idea of them. You know,
I do too.
Yeah, the fun. It is fun to shop through and pick through other people's cool stuff.
I picked through your stuff.
Yeah, you did. You did. And you found a lot of really cool stuff in the garage. And we'll talk about that another day, because there's different levels, and that was a whole other level.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Type of estate sales. But, you know, after that, I said, you know, I think this is something I want to do. It still allows me to help people, families, and it's for a good cause. You know, sometimes you know, an estate sale, and we're jumping a little ahead, but, you know, sometimes somebody moves out of their large house. They need money to help pay for their assisted living. So, you know, this is a way, maybe if we get a month or two rent by selling their belongings that they don't need anymore, it helps. So I quit my job, and we kind of jumped into this head first. And I've been very lucky since March of 24. I've been doing this full time. So
dang, that's awesome. Well, and I've been following the journey from start to finish this whole time, and picking what I can out of the places when I can for my own benefit. So,
well, and that's the fun of it too, right? It's you're helping somebody else, but if you get
who doesn't like a garage sale?
Exactly.
You know, so it's awesome.
And an estate sale is kind of like a fancier garage sale. As you can see our surroundings, we're at the site of an upcoming sale. I don't know if this will air beforehand, but there's a lot of blingy stuff here.
There's a lot of stuff in this place, you guys. Yeah, it is pretty amazing, and there is a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, and that's the thing you don't see, right? When you walk in, and sometimes even when I walk in and I look, I'm like, there's really not a lot of stuff here. And then you start opening cabinets, you're like, oh. And then in the closet and underneath the clothing, oh. And then you wind up, and we'll probably take a little peek around the place so you can see what we're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't think people really understand, because a lot of times when you talk to them, they'll say, I can do this myself. And then you phone rings 2 weeks later, could help.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say this is probably the most comfortable, nicest podcasting couch that I will hope to probably ever do an episode on.
So. Well, it is for sale, so if you'd like to buy it, and it's modular, so like each piece is just what I need. So you can bring it, and we can just bring it from location to location, so you can cast from it.
Yeah, I would love to have it, but not in my place. So walk us through a little bit about, let's say a family calls you. Walk us through like what happens when that first call happens. You know, probably maybe a little in a panic.
Yeah.
But usually, you know, they're at least searching for what the next steps are. They probably have no idea what to do with something like this, especially adult children or someone who's taking over a place. So, and moving someone out.
So we get different kind of calls, right? So sometimes it's, hey, I need to be out by next week. And that's just, you know, to be realistic, you know, if they call me and I need you to do it on Saturday, and you have 2 days to set up, it's not really a realistic expectation.
Yeah.
Unless
that's a fire sale.
Yeah, that's a fire sale. And I've done those where it's kind of like, okay, well, we can just open the doors, let people pick, and we make up prices. You know, I try to make it work for everybody if I can. But in a general manner of speaking, somebody gives a call, either, you know, a parent just passed away or a relative just passed away, or maybe they're moving to an assisted living and they can't take everything with them. And the family a lot of times doesn't want the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they'll take a couple of little mementos and the rest is usually up for grabs. So we set an appointment. We see what the situation and its availability too. Sometimes somebody said, well, I'm closing on my house in 2 weeks and I need a sale next week. And so it's just not feasible.
Right.
In that case, I'll say, well, I can't do it, but here's a couple of my associates that may be able to help you. But in generally speaking, and I'm going off guard and I apologize, I have bad ADD that sometimes takes me off guard.
I'll keep you on track.
Yeah, keep me on track. We walk through and we look around and we see, does it make sense to have a sale? Because sometimes, you know, people have really nice furniture, but nothing else.
Right.
And, you know, a good balanced sale has your mix of knickknacks, furniture, clothing, jewelry, and things like that. So we walk through, we see, does this make sense to have a sale or not? If it does make sense, we proceed. We set a date with a realistic expectations. Generally, I can get a small sale set up in 4 days.
Okay.
But sometimes it's a larger project that maybe we need to take a week to go through everything, get it photographed, priced, published on estatesales.net and other social media, and then we have the sale the following week.
Okay.
But in general, a smaller sale I can get done in about 3 or 4 days.
Not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. How about the emotional surprise that families, especially adult children that are coming in, any major like emotional surprises that you come across where they just don't know, like, oh, I didn't think that would be like this, or probably people that come down from up north or visiting, they probably haven't visited in quite some time.
Yeah.
And they can't believe what they're seeing.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, families haven't visited and all of a sudden they walk into this house that hasn't been cleaned. Things are just kind of strewn aside and they're just not sure what to do. Sometimes those are actually the best sales because there's so much stuff that you can really pick through. You know, what I do with those folks are like, you know, this is what we're here. We're going to take this off your plate so you can focus on the other stuff. Let us come in. Sometimes I'm going to be honest, you know, if it's a very dirty place that we need to clean up to display, we do have a cleaning charge. And it's just because it is labor intensive. You know, what we do is labor intensive, but we come in, we straighten it up, we get rid of the garbage, we clean it up. Sometimes we clean it up just enough, sweep and mop to get it looking professional. And it helps them because then they can say, all right, well, I need to do all this legal stuff. I need to go see the bank. I need to go do this. So that kind of takes it off the plate. And then you have...
Now, do you guys help the family throughout this process, or are you strictly just, this is what we do, you guys allow us to do this portion of it and you're on your own for the rest? Or do you kind of walk them through like a system?
I do walk them through.
Okay.
I'll say, you know, we can come in and do the sale. Now, at this point, we're not doing full clean outs. It's just we're not at the stage where we have the staffing, and I like to be honest with people, but I do have other companies that I could recommend. If they want to donate, we can box the stuff up and donate it to the Salvation Army or Goodwill. Or, there's some churches that'll come pick up. But we'll give them all the tools from the beginning to the end. And sometimes, you know, I'll be even, you know, they're out of state. So well, who's going to come let the people in to pick up the donations? Well,
Right.
I'll do that or I'll send somebody to. But I try to hold their hand and make it as easy as possible for them. I might not have all the resources on with me and my company, but I definitely know enough people and other companies that we can make the from start to finish very easy.
Sure. How about disagreements between any siblings on what to do with mom or dad's stuff? Do you come across that at all? And then how do you handle that?
I'll be honest with you. If there is a disagreement with the families and they're like, well, I want to do this. And I had a situation similar a few months ago where there was a brother in California and the sister lived here and she was the local one. And I met with them and he was like, all right, let's do this now. But she was not ready to give up the stuff.
Yeah.
And, the house had a lot of memories and she just wasn't willing.
Very sentimental.
Yeah. She was very sentimental about every piece of everything in that house. So in that situation, I kind of give them my information. I tell them, look, when you guys are ready, I'm here.
Yep.
So I don't like to pressure people. This is not a sales job. We are here to help you sell your belongings, but I let people come to the conclusion on their time. So if I meet with somebody today, they may not be ready for 3 months, but at least they're armed with that information that they can proceed when they're ready.
Yeah. How often are you called in after like a hospital visit or a fall or a dementia diagnosis, or probably the adult children are being involved in that process of knowing what's going on as well? But is that a quick trigger?
Not necessarily. Usually it's somebody has passed away. That's usually where we get the phone call.
Okay.
Most of the time it's, my mom passed away, my dad passed away, and we have this house full of stuff and we don't know what to do with. There have been occasions where, hey, mom is moving into a memory care in a couple of weeks. We're going to pick a couple items we want, and then we want to have a sale and sell the house. So those triggers in this situation don't necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came up at some point.
Okay. Yeah. How about regretting any lessons learned? What do families most often say that they wish they had done sooner?
I think a lot of the times when they start coming in and throwing stuff out, and they realize that they're kind of throwing money away.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is, and I guess we can go into a little bit about like the do's and do nots, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
So you don't really, when you're thinking about having an estate sale, you don't really want to throw anything away, right? The old adage, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yep.
Is totally true in this case. So like a lot of times the first thing people will do because they're overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that they're seeing is bag the clothes up and throw the clothes out.
Yeah.
Or donate the clothes. And that's throwing money away. Now you're not going to get $1 million for clothes. Every dollar counts and every dollar adds up. So if you sell a closet full of clothing at $4 a shirt, I mean, that adds up quick.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to throw anything away before we come and take a look.
Okay.
Okay. And that's kind of the biggest thing, because a lot of times you get people that they've already donated everything and I get a phone call and it's like, well, I have this entertainment center, which is never going to sell. Right. It's very rare we could sell an entertainment center. So I'm sorry to the viewers out there. I know your beloved entertainment center meant so much to you over the years, but they're very difficult to sell. It's just a fact.
It is what it is. That's right.
And, people don't have the room for stuff.
Yeah.
So, but really the most important thing is before you donate, throw anything away, give us a call, let us take a walk through.
Yeah.
We'll guide you. Even if you get rid of the clothes and there's nothing left, I'm going to be honest with you and say, there's really not much here to do. Your best bet is to box this stuff up, donate it, or if you really don't care, you could always call a junk caller.
Okay. Talk about, you don't have to name the specific pricing,
sure,
but how does the pricing work? Because you're coming in as a service that does this for someone else. So your job is to sell everything you can. Obviously, a lot of things don't sell at the end of a sale and you have to get rid of those things. But is there a set fee, or is it how much is involved with what they have? Like a ton of stuff means you charge more. How does that work?
Okay. So I don't charge anything up front. Okay. Because I feel like I say, it's kind of a gamble, right? Because we don't know who's going to come, how much we're going to make. You could look at the stuff and say, wow, this is beautiful stuff, I think. But the reality is it may be something nobody wants and then it shows up. Like this is a situation where I think we're going to be pretty crowded. So we kind of look at that. I don't charge anything up front. I do charge a minimum. And what I do for the minimum is I base it on how much labor I'm going to need. And I try to keep it pretty low because I don't want somebody to have to pay me out of pocket. So if I look at a place and I think we can get it done, and I think the minimum, for example, that we could make is $2,000 on the low end, then my minimum is probably going to be between $600 and $800.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, because I would feel awful if somebody had to pay me something.
Yeah.
But that being said, we have to reach the minimum before we get to the split.
Right.
So if we just made $800 for the sale, then the family gets nothing, but at the very least, they don't have to pay me anything either.
Right. Okay. And how busy do you stay on a monthly basis, or?
It varies by season, honestly. Like the first year we were busy from April through December, honestly, with very minimal.
Is it seasonal?
It is kind of seasonal. I mean, this year I noticed we were a little busy in the beginning of the year, and then I had some gaps, and then all of a sudden it picked up from like August on, had been super busy.
Booming.
You know, we do see elections affect things. You know, and I'm sure you see that in home care business too. When there's an election, it seems like the snowbirds don't come down.
Yeah.
They wait till after the election to arrive. So that could be a factor too. If they're not coming down, that drives a lot of traffic. There's a lot of snowbirds that come to the estate sales.
Yeah.
So it's honestly, I haven't really figured out the pattern yet, but one more year we should be able to put something together.
Cool. Let's talk about like cool things that you've found, and are you able to keep some of those really cool things for yourself? I'm sure you got to pay the family something or whatever. But...
Absolutely. So I generally do not purchase anything prior to a sale.
Okay.
Because when I first started, I collect vintage glass. I'm a big fan of like L.E. Smith, which I'm going to throw names out to you. You'll be like, aha. So vintage colored glass, swung vases, compote bowls. And one of the very first sales I had, it was another house. It was like packed with stuff. And I was just starting out. And I did the whole thing by myself. And it took me days and hours. But when I was unpacking the garage, I found this red Amberina swung vase, like packed away in the Christmas decorations.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, it was like love at first sight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I did want to purchase it, but I knew that somebody probably would find it interesting. So I put it out for the sale. Didn't sell. And at the end, I asked the owner if I can buy it, and he actually just gifted it to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
he was happy with the results. You have to be careful because you don't want to break somebody's trust, right?
Right.
Like they're giving me their keys. They're allowing me to come into their home or their family's home.
Yeah.
And my job is to sell it. Now, if there's something I walk in and I see it right away, I'll often ask, hey, I would like to purchase this from you.
Right.
But generally, my rule of thumb has been if I see something and I think it's cool, somebody else is going to think it's cool. And it may be a key piece to bring people into the sale.
Probably me. I'm probably texting you because you posted a video on it. And I'm like, save that. Saving you're like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's already in the video. I got to let people come in and see it because I've posted it already.
Exactly. And I
get that.
Yeah,
I get it.
And that's the thing, right? So I go to estate sales too.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, I went to one sale and I waited out there because there was two things that I wanted. And I was the first person online. I was out there like 3 hours before because I'm insane. So I waited like 6 o'clock in the morning for this thing to open because I needed to be the first person in that sale. And I walked in and I said, where's this pink picture? It's gone already. I said, huh? I'm the first person in the door.
Right.
There's no way that thing is gone. So I decided then and there, if I picture it in my pictures and my ads, or it's in a video and it's seen, it's going to be there at least when the door opens.
Yeah. Well,
and I think
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think it's fair because there are people that, that will wait 3 hours. And how disappointing is it when you walk in and it's already gone?
Yeah.
Or sometimes you get these, the family came in and took it.
Yep.
Well, then you should remove it from your picture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I always take the chance. I know that you're going to, I see stuff I like, and then I try and come on a Saturday morning early and, get up before everybody, or a Sunday and get up for everybody and be there. But, you don't win them all.
Yeah.
I think I missed a bunch of really cool records, right? Like within 5 or 10 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Some good ones. Let's talk about records.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about records and record players too.
Oh, yeah.
You have 12 hours? I love record players, vintage record players. And I have a collection of records. And I know that you're big into it. Angel, that works with us, is a huge record collector as well. And I think that trend seems to be growing. The more digital that we have become, the more vintage things are becoming cooler. Sure. So the fact that they're remaking records, like record players now, even just to play records at record stores. I see them for sale. I'm like, that you wouldn't have seen that 15 years ago. Everybody wanted CDs and whatever else, but it's really cool to see the records come back around again.
Absolutely.
And the sound is awesome.
And pro tip, you never buy a Crosley. Do not buy a suitcase player. You might as well just throw the record on the floor and ice skate on it.
Yeah.
So that's another tip from me, snobby music listener. But yeah, no, records are, when I see a record collection, I get really excited. But then sometimes you find what I call the Goodwill records, which are your like Barbra Streisand, your big band music or old classical. That stuff doesn't move. Okay. If you have like 60s, 70s, rock, pop, soul, R&B, 80s stuff is huge. Like whenever I have good 80s records, those always sell really well.
That's what I'm buying usually when I'm in there trying to find those.
But I also temper the expectations of the family. Like, yes, and there are some records I do look through everything. So just to make sure, especially if you find like a Pink Floyd record, you need to make sure it's not like a remake or an 80s version. Like I see what, that stuff is. But as a rule of thumb, if if you think your record's worth more than $200, don't put it in a estate sale. Because you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
We generally sell records, depending on, again, the genre. If you have all those big band records, they're going for $1 each. Yeah. And the fact is they're probably going to wind up with the Salvation Army afterwards anyway. But other records, better records, and depending on how you kept them, right? Because not everybody stored their records. I know. Yeah,
I'm guilty of it.
I'm a huge snob when I buy used record. If there's scratches on it that are into the groove, I will not pick that record up.
Right.
But I had a sale a couple of weeks ago. They had a couple of Parlophone Beatles records, which are cool. So for those that don't know, when the Beatles came out in England, they had different versions of the records that came out in the United States. So what Capitol did here was they would break the records apart, and like Revolver here has like hardly any John Lennon songs because they put it on a different Beatles record.
Oh, no kidding. I did not know that.
See? And this is just stuff like I've learned because I'm a huge music person too.
Yeah.
But when I walked into this house, I was like, holy crap, there's Parlophone Beatles records here.
Yeah.
Like the OG with the real track orders. Unfortunately, they look like they were sat in the dryer because every single one of them was scratched, warped, but they still sold because the covers were cool and they're still classic Beatles records. But it was like heartbreaking because these are probably early British Beatles records. So instead of getting what they were worth, we maybe picked up, $8 each for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. What about, here's something that I've noticed since going to your estate sales. Tell the people that, or what happens when you have pianos and organs. Because I've been to several places that you've had sales now, and it's one of the most common things that I'm seeing is almost every one of those places that I've been to has an organ or a piano. What happens to them?
Most likely they're going to be in the house by the end of the sale. They're very hard to move. People don't have room for that stuff, right? And also when you're dealing with older pianos, it's hard to maintain them. So a lot of times, I'll take the offer. If somebody says, I'll give you $50 for that piano, I'm probably going to take it because otherwise you're going to get nothing. So it's good to look for places. There are some places around, I don't know them offhand, that will take donations of musical instruments. And if you can get it out, I have a house coming up with a baby grand.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we'll probably take some videos playing the baby grand.
Yeah.
And you maybe want to come visit and play the baby grand, but it's probably going to be there at the end of the sale. Yeah. So in that case, sometimes something like that, if I'm working with a real estate agent, sometimes they'll say, listen, sell the house and give them the piano.
Right.
And it's, but a lot of the times those are going to be left. And it's sad because some of them are beautiful.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if there's a way, if no one's going to play it anymore and it's just going to go to, somewhere where no one's going to see it or use it or get crushed or I don't know what they do with them. I wonder if there's a way to take the keys off or something sentimental and you can drill a hole and make it a Christmas ornament or something for the family.
That's a great idea.
That might be something cool.
I did have a house recently that I walked in and I saw what I thought was a piano, but the lady did custom furniture and she had turned it into a bar.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm like, and she's like, oh, I'm taking that with you. I was like,
that's going to be a tough one to get rid of.
But, like that's an example, like somebody with some ingenuity said, I'm going to take this old piano that's probably not going to stay in tune anymore and turn it into something fun.
Totally repurpose it.
If you're able to do that, great. But again, a lot of times that stuff is left. Now, keyboards, Other instruments, that will sell.
Okay.
You know, I've had trombones,
Guitars
trumpets,
and all that stuff
saxophone.
too.
Oh yeah, guitars are rare.
Okay.
A lot of times people keep the guitars. I've had some like busted up acoustic guitars that will still sell because they're cheap enough. But other instruments, especially if they're vintage, like the brass stuff, will sell.
Okay. Any like sale that you've gone to or house that you've gone to where you felt like this was like the granddaddy of them all? Is there anything that stands out? Any place that stands out that's been like the top one? I may not even
Like
do something like that again.
so, honestly, there's
Maybe
been
like a celebrity or anything.
no, I've never,
Okay.
I did not go to the Kirstie Alleys.
Okay.
Because I know that was a big one. But I do watch a lot of videos. My friend, one of my workers, she sends me videos of like estate sales from California. And
Yeah.
it's funny to me because a lot of times the customers balk at the prices, even though I do try to keep my numbers low because I want to sell this stuff. I'd rather
Yeah.
sell it than sit on it. And I look at those videos and the stuff that's in them and I'm like, wow, if they're complaining about the prices here, they should go see some of those sales.
Yeah.
Because they're just,
Oh man, I can
I saw a video about Tom Petty's widow was having an estate sale of his
Really?
stuff.
Oh,
And they didn't show everything. And I'm sure she kept a lot of the memorabilia, but the stuff was amazing. And you know, it wasn't $6,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
But as far as like personal sales that I've done,
Yeah.
we had a house in Newport Richie, and I'm going to shout Michael Post out for that. I think Amber was from Pineapple Placements was also involved. The woman's house had an air condition leak and it had black mold, and we had to get creative in setting the sale up. Now, the caveat was she was a shopaholic as well. So she had tons of new inbox stuff along with, and I'm not even kidding, because the hazmat crew had to come out, 13 black garbage bags filled with jewelry.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't just your typical costume jewelry. There was gold and silver in there.
Yeah.
So, but we couldn't let anybody in the house. So we had all this stuff and we had to get creative to try to make it work to have a sale. So what we did was the garage was usable. We set up a jewelry station, and I had actually Mike Post work the sale with me, and he was basically the guard. We let 3 people in, look at the jewelry, then they had to come out. Then we set the entire lanai where I thought Swamp Thing was coming out of the pool. It was
Really?
that green, but we set the entire lanai up as the store.
Yeah.
So we had like a little walkway to go through so they can go from the garage into the back porch, but it was a tremendous sale. I mean, we probably sold 95% of the contents of that house.
Wow.
Which, if
Unbelievable.
you saw the amount of stuff. And the other one was the one we were referencing earlier in the video, was a house in Dunedin. It had no air conditioning since 2016. A nice couple had found this man down and helped them get into assisted living, which I think is remarkable. You know, we need more kindness like that in the world.
Yeah,
They were selfless,
absolutely.
and they got this gentleman into an assisted living. And I had met her at one of the antique malls, and she's like, I got this guy, he's got a house full of stuff, but there's been no air. And sometimes people say, I don't think much of it. But when I walked in, my jaw dropped.
Really?
And I mean, antiques at the wazoo. There was great vintage glass. There was all these kind of things, like vintage razor sets from the 50s, still in the package with the razors. Like,
oh, that's so cool.
It was really cool. And all those
ones that you would toss and throw into the wall, and I guess it would be in the drywall forever. Inside the wall.
Yeah, like when we were growing up, it was the throwing stars. Back then, it was definitely the razors. But yeah, no, that house was incredible. But it was another situation of there was so much stuff in the house, so we had to get creative on selling it. And I'm very open and honest. There was a lot of mold in that house, and I was honest with the customers, and that's the best policy is bring a mask, bring gloves if you're uncomfortable. If there's some kind of something about the home, I always put that up front because I don't want anybody to be surprised and they get mad if they didn't know.
Right.
So it's always in rent. But that sale was amazing. We did so well. But we also knew because of the way the house was, we couldn't price everything.
Right.
So we did it more of a bring up a pile, let's make a deal with people. And it worked out really well. We probably made more money doing it that way than we would have if we did it. And we paid for, I think we got about 3 months of rent for his ALF out of that too.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
It made me really happy. The family that's helping this gentleman was extremely happy. And now hopefully they could sell the house.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is another story.
Yeah. So give the people a little bit about what it is or where it is that they can find you, your website, phone number, anything else that you want to wrap
Sure.
up with.
So you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. It's at Milone Vintage, and it's spelled with an I, and I'm sure you'll pop it on the screen,
I
right?
will.
So it's Milone Vintage, all one word. Instagram, Facebook. You can reach us at cell phone at 7. And I'll tell you a little anecdote about the cell phone. We have a family plan with my parents, my wife, my brother-in-law, myself, and my grandmother was on it. She no longer needed a cell phone, but you know the way these companies work, if you get rid of a line, now your bill goes up
Exactly. You got
$600.
to add a line to bring it down. Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to keep the line, and we turned her phone number into our business line.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
so it's kind of nice that it's like a little piece carries on.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
it's a cool number too.
Yeah.
So, so you can reach us at that. And if you want to shoot us an email, it's malonevintage@gmail.com.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate you letting me in your world for a little bit and,
No
and
problem.
check
Thanks
this
for coming.
stuff out. I always love coming to your sales and seeing what there is in here and hopefully buy something. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll come back and find something I can buy for this sale
Yeah.
too. So
And we did a little bit about us too, just if I don't mind throwing a
yeah,
little plug out.
do it.
We do a little bit different than a lot of the other sales. I mean, you've been to a few. We're a little bit, a little more fun. We try to make it a fun experience because it can be very somber. One of our things is we all wear band shirts.
Yeah, I
we
noticed
put-
that. Yeah.
We all wear music shirts. I actually ran into somebody who's like, I know you from somewhere. You're the place with the food truck and the band shirts. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. So and sometimes we'll bring a food truck, and we're talking maybe coming soon a coffee cart. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Stay tuned.
That's awesome. All right, guys. I'm Chad, the home care guy, and I'm with Avail Home Care. And this has been Milone Vintage Estate Sales with Joe Milone. And we'll see you soon. All right. Stay tuned, guys. Till the next one. We'll see you.